Okay, so you want to stand right here.
Yep.
And kind of just walk towards the middle of the camera, and then you say, "Hey, what do you think we spend a little time in the garden today?" All right, all right.
Hey, what do you think? We're gonna go out to the garden, all right?
No, 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 no. No, that's not how you do it. That's not how you do it. Get back right here.
Okay.
Okay. So just kind of, just take it easy. You don't have to be so excited about it, but just a little excitement. And then you guys say, all right, all right, all right.
Hey, I think it's time to spend some time in the garden. All right, all right, all right.
That was better. That was better. That was better. Let me show you. Let me show you how it's done. You ready?
Okay.
So what do you say we spend a little time in the garden today? All right, all right, all right. See?
I see.
Got it? Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
So I'm here with my good buddy Wes from the Naked Hog channel today, and he's going to help us do a little work in the garden, get some of these plots ready for spring, which spring planting will be here before we know it. Coming quick in the next few months or so. So we're going to be looking at some of our cover crops we planted back in the fall, talking about, you know, what we thought of those, how they did for us. A lot of these we planted for the first time. Going to be looking at some of those. Going to be cutting them down, tilling them in a little bit, doing a little tarping, and kind of giving you our methodology, our reasons behind what we're doing today. What you think?
Sounds like a good plan.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right, so in this plot here, we've got a cover crop of Marvel chickpeas, and then we got some of these random brassicas here. When I was planting this, I think I accidentally mixed some of this African forage cabbage seed in with my chickpeas. Not a big deal. These things actually look pretty nice. I don't know if they, actually those are called African forage collards.
It's not bad.
Yeah, tastes like a collard green. You could probably eat those if you wanted to. Leaves, you can see, don't get quite as big on those. Let me, man, they got some pretty tough stalks on them. You can see they get pretty good size. But we didn't intentionally put these in there, but just kind of happened, but kind of happy we did. As far as the chickpeas go, I really like how they did. Now, it took them a while to fill in here, and if I did this again, I would probably mix these with some tillage radish or something that kind of took off really fast first, so that I get that ground cover initially. While these things, you know, do their thing, they take a little longer to germinate. But these are nice. A lot of good vegetation here on these. We didn't make any chickpeas, so I was kind of hopeful for, but it's time to turn them in, time to get them in the ground. What do you think about the chickpeas?
What do the chickpeas do for the ground?
So you're going to get some nitrogen. It's a legume, so you're going to get some nitrogen fixation there. Pretty good little root structure there, so it's going to tickle the soil, as I like to say, condition the soil, and a decent bit of biomass here that we're going to be adding back to the soil.
Good deal.
And then once they get up like they are now, we get some pretty good weed suppression with them. Like I said, they are slower to get up, so I would mix these with a fast-growing brassica in the future. I really like these guys.
Yeah, these are nice.
I could see planting those by themselves, and these can take some gnawing on, so to speak. So if you had some chickens or other animals or whatever, you can plant these and let them kind of munch on them, and they'll grow back.
That's a good idea.
So happy with the chickpeas here, and we're going to get these mowed down, and we're going to do one pass with the tiller, and then we're going to tarp them. And this is going to be the plot where we're going to be planting all of our flowers this year. So we're going to be putting some zinnias in here, some ageratum, some cosmos, all kind of good stuff. You planting any flowers this year?
I'm going to plant all sorts of flowers. Yep, lots of zinnias, I think.
Yeah.
That's going to be the main thing, I think, zinnia.
Always good to have some flowers near your vegetable garden. Bring in beneficial insects, pollinators, all that good stuff. So that's what we're going to plant in this plot. So we got to start to get it ready for when that time comes. Mid-March, early April or so. And then the other plot we're going to be getting mowed down, incorporated today, is this frosty Berseem clover. And of all the new cover crops I've tried this year, I think this might be my favorite. This is some awesome stuff. You can see how thick it is. It's shorter right here. I made one pass with the mower just to make sure the mower could handle it so we didn't look silly on video with a chuck down mower. But the push mower can handle it on its highest setting, and we'll show you that in a minute. But this stuff right here just gets super thick.
That looks good.
Whoa. It's got dirt all in my face. Anyway, lots of good biomass there. Lots of good nitrogen fixation we should be getting with that stuff. Now with clover, I'll show you in just a minute what happens if you don't plant it the right time. But for us down here, ideal time to plant this stuff is in, you know, October, middle to end of October or so, and that's when we planted this, and it worked out perfect. Got up going good, gave us some good weed suppression, got nice and thick. Now in past years I have planted some cover crops later in the fall, winter months, and in most years that ends up doing all right because we get spells of warm temperatures. However, it's pretty cold this weekend here. I got some dirt on your eye right there. It's been pretty chilly, and so the ones I planted later really haven't popped like they should. I think you planted some of this kind of later.
Yeah, I planted it late too, and it hasn't done much of anything.
So for us in zone 8B, ideally you want to have this stuff planted in October for best results. If you're at zone 7, you're probably a month or so before that. You kind of figure your ideal planting date. But for down here, October is prime time to end up with a really good stand of clover like this. And this is where we're going to be planting our tomatoes this year. And so we want to start to get this worked in, start to work on the crop turnover process here, so it can be ready when we have tomato transplants ready to go in the ground.
And this stuff will be good for some chickens and stuff too, huh?
Yeah, so this variety here, this frosty berseem clover, is you can mow it or graze it. So unlike some clovers where once you cut it, they're pretty much toast, this you can graze it or mow it. So, you know, if we had plenty of time, we could mow this, let all that biomass deposit on the ground, let it grow back and mow it again, kind of like we do the sorghum Sudan grass.
Yep.
Or if you've got chickens, you got a chicken tractor or whatever, come out here and graze this stuff, give it a little break, let it grow back, put them back on it, have some nice little manure addition there. Goats, I'm sure, would love this stuff too. You have goats, they like clover?
They like, yeah, they do like it.
So great all around cover crop here with this frosty berseem clover. Let me show you what it looks like if you don't plant it in time. All right, so you see this plot right here. This is also where we planted some frosty berseem clover. We mixed a few brassicas in with this as well, but we didn't plant this till I think almost around the end of November or so. So at least a month and a half later than we planted that cover crop, where it looks really good. And you can see here, this stuff is just kind of crawling along. It hasn't really filled in, and it has a lot to do with this chillier than normal winter we've had. Yours looks something like that.
Mine looks like this. Matter of fact, we planted ours right after I watched the video of you planting yours.
Oh yeah?
I said, Travis did it, so.
Yeah, so it's got to be all right. And it would normally be all right, but you know, you can't never predict the weather. It was interesting, one of our subscribers was showing me some data that said in majority of the country, this has been a very normal, very warmer than normal winter. And I guess they stole all the warm weather.
Yeah.
We certainly haven't had a whole lot of it down here. Usually, you know, we'll get waves where we get in the 70s some this time of year, but it just hasn't happened.
You know what else looks like this? Is my carrot bed.
Your carrot bed?
Yeah. It's not quite this green, actually.
Yeah, we got to work with Wes a little bit on his carrots. He's got a little bit of carrot envy, so to say.
Just a little bit. Pun
intended, because our envy carrots are looking pretty good. But we're going to work with him on the carrots and get him there. Let's go back over to where the cover crops are that we're going to be working with today and kind of talk about our strategy there. Okay, so let's talk about some of our cover crop termination strategies, because there are several different ways to do this. More than one way to skin a cat, as they say. Mowing it is probably the first step for everybody. You could put a tarp on top of this, but especially with as windy as it is out here, probably going to get some wind underneath there and may mess it up. So you want it kind of as flat as possible before you put a tarp on it. So you don't have to till it. If you don't want to, you can tarp it, let the tarp do its thing, sit on top of there, kind of kill everything cook everything, and then go and plant into that residue if you want to.
And while you're waiting with the extra time, you can have yourself a cup of Kool-Aid.
That's right. You can have you some no-till Kool-Aid if you're not going to till.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So you definitely want to mow it first. We're going to be mowing it today with my little push mower because it's got a mulching deck on it, and we want to chop and drop this stuff. We don't want to blow it all over the place. We want to chop and drop it. So we're going to be mowing it with a push mower, getting it flattened, and like I said, after that you can just tarp it and let the tarp do its thing. However, in these two plots here, I have a little bit of a weed seed bank issue. I got some crabgrass that I had some issues with last year, and a little bit of pigweed in there, and so I want to take care of that. So as a result, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one pass with the tiller after we mow it, then put the tarp on there. And what that one pass with the tiller do, it won't come close to chopping all this stuff up, but it will bring some of those weed seeds that are below the soil to the surface, and then they'll germinate once we put the tarp on there, and they'll die, and we'll have a little more success with managing our weeds in this plot. Now, you've done some of the kind of setting up your new plots, some of the repeated tillings initially to kind of get that weed seed bank down.
Absolutely. So we went through when we made our new beds. Originally it was all forest, and so we cleared all that. We tilled our beds, and then we let them sit for a week or two, kind of watered them, and actually kind of encouraged that those weed seeds to germinate and grow. And then we went through once they started to germinate, and we tilled through it again just to kill all those off.
Right. So we try to till as little as we can, but especially when you're doing new plots like Wes has been doing, you really got to get that weed seed bank down, or else you're just going to be spending all your time fighting weeds and not really enjoying your time out in the garden growing food and focusing on other aspects like nutrients and pest control and stuff like that. So getting that weed seed bank down is important, not only in new plots but even established plots like this. So if we were needing to turn over these plots and plant something in them in the next couple of weeks, we'd probably have to do several passes with the tiller, especially with a walk behind tiller. You've got a tractor tiller, which tends to be a little more aggressive, but even with that, you'd probably have to take a couple passes because there's so much biomass here to get all that worked into the soil. We're just going to make one little pass just to kind of bring some weed seeds up, get them to germinate and die underneath that tarp. So Wes is going to give me a hand here. I'm going to put Wes on the push mower, and then I'm going to come right behind him with the tiller. Like I said, we're just going to give it a light little disturbance there. It won't kill this stuff at all, really. This clover comes back pretty good, and then we'll put the tarp on it, and that's where the magic happens.
All right.
All right, so that worked pretty good, doing a little tag team there.
That did. That was quick. Not too
restart
bad.
the mower a few times.
That stuff's thick. It gets really thick.
Yeah, maybe on the verge of being a little too much for the push mower.
Almost,
yeah.
Almost.
You can see what happens. It's kind of pretty wet in there, and
oh yeah. Yep.
That's all that good stuff. That's that good green manure right there. So that's what we want to make sure we add back to the soil and not blow it all over the place. Chunk that back in there. And I could have let this clover go, shoot, probably another couple months, and it would have been just fine. And the time when you want to incorporate a cover crop just depends on your situation. You can wait all the way until it flowers if you want to, and a lot of people will do that because they like for the bees to feed on the blooms. You have bees?
Nope.
No bees yet?
Not yet.
You're gonna get some bees.
Hope so.
So you can wait until it blooms and then incorporate it, or think about how much time you have for turnover until when you need to plant it again. So we'll be planting tomatoes here, in another couple months, and seeing how it's cool, I think the breakdown process is going to be a little longer, and so I want to give myself plenty of time so I do have this ready. So just think about how much time you need. Give yourself plenty of time. Don't be in a rush with it. The last thing you want to do is go and plant something in here without all this stuff broken down and it's growing back and you're fighting it with the new crop of plants. So give yourself some time. That's what we're doing here. We're going to give ourselves some time. Even though this could have grown a little longer, it was time for us to get it in. Now let's switch over right here to the chickpeas. I think you'll have a little easier time.
Yeah,
with the mower
that
in
looks
there.
a little bit better.
Some of those
when
big,
we hit those, oh yeah,
those big gollard stalks may give you a little trouble, but I think that will be a little bit easier. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so chickpeas are down. That went a little better for the mower.
Yep.
Not quite as much thickness there.
Those collards were tough though.
Collards were tough. Those stalks were almost woody.
Oh yeah.
We got that chopped in. Let's take a little closer look at both of these plots now. So if we take a look at our clover here, what we got. Now keep in mind, I don't have that tiller set very deep at all, so we're not getting down there very deep. Now it's pretty wet in here, so you can dig down pretty far. Those roots go way down there, at least, shoot, 5-6 inches or so.
Yeah. Easy.
But we just kind of chop this a little bit and just kind of flip those first couple inches of soil a little bit. Nothing super intensive, and you can see if you pull on this, a lot of those roots there are still attached. So if we didn't do anything, this stuff would probably, not all of it, but a good bit of it grow back here. But we got a lot of good biomass here. Some of that incorporated into the soil. A lot of good soil aeration there. And if we wanted to turn this over, we'd probably have to till this, shoot, I don't know, 2 or 3 more passes.
Oh yeah, easy.
But since we're going to use the tarp, that's going to help us out. And we won't have to disturb the soil as much. Still solve our issue of reducing the weed seed bank here, but we don't have to just pulverize our soil to get rid of this cover crop. Now where we had these chickpeas, we got a little better incorporation because it just wasn't as thick. You can see chickpeas there. Some of them are still rooted, like right there. That's still rooted, and the tarp would just kill those off. These collard stalks, man, they got some deep roots on them. Look at there. I mean,
dang, that's crazy.
That's some good soil tickling right there. And what that does is it scavenges nutrients from way down deep there, where your normal vegetable plants wouldn't otherwise normally be able to access, and brings them up. And then when you chop them into the soil like this, then those nutrients are in the upper part of the soil profile and available to the next round of plants. And putting the tarp on here is going to kind of hopefully trap those nutrients in here, so if we do get a hard rain, they don't go anywhere, and we have them here for our flowers. Think that's a good game plan?
I think let's do it.
All right, so now it's time for a little tarping action. These are the tarps we carry on our website. We have 2 different sizes, 40 by 50 and 30 by 40. We'll be using the 30 by 40 ones today. These plots are 30 by 35. So on the long end, we just kind of fold it back over. I could cut them, so they're exact length, but I just leave them 30 by 40 and fold them over, not a big deal. But these are a really, really good tool for getting that weed seed bank down. These are 6 mil plastic, UV resistant plastic, so they hold up really well. When we put these on the soil, creates kind of a moist, warm environment underneath the tarp there, forces those weed seeds to germinate. They don't have any light because this is impenetrable to light, and then they immediately die. So really good way to deplete your weed seed bank, which goes a long way to making you successful and making your garden experience enjoyable. Now you haven't done any tarping yet, right?
I haven't yet, not yet, but I plan to when we start putting in summer cover crops.
Yep, that's a good way to take care of the summer cover crops. And also, like down here where we really can't grow a whole lot during the heat of summer because it's so hot, tarping your area and even doing a little till and tarp technique is a good way to keep those summer weeds from thriving and going to seed and really contributing to your weed seed bank. I know you've been doing a lot with your weed seed bank and trying to get that knocked down, and so the tarp really helps us do that, and it's going to also help us break down these cover crops. Another good thing for the tarp, and I experienced this last year when I was getting ready to plant my potatoes. If you have a winter where it's just unusually wet, and we hear this a lot in spring, people are excited to plant for spring, getting ready to plant for spring, but the garden's too wet and they can't get out there and work and get it ready. The tarp will help you a lot there, because you can put this tarp on the soil and there's not going to get any additional moisture there, and then you can pull it off. You can get the ground ready, close to ready, put the tarp back on and just leave it there until right when you're ready to plant, and you don't have to worry about all that excess rain, it being too wet or muddy. So if you live in an area where your garden a lot of times is just too wet in late winter or spring to plant, go with a tarp and keep it, you know, relatively dry.
That's a good point. You know, I actually may end up going with a couple of these tarps in the spring then, because we definitely do have wet issues.
Yeah, wet, you know, wet areas or soil that doesn't drain as well. You know, some of your new plots, I know you're probably working on building that organic matter, so they don't drain quite as well yet as you want them to. Tarp's a good way to keep any extra water from getting in there and making a mud bog out of them. So we're gonna get these tarps down, get some bricks on them, and we'll see what it looks like when we're done. All right, so we got our tarps on. Now all we do is just sit back and wait for this cold weather to get out of here in a few more, maybe a month or so.
Yep.
When's y'all's last frost date in Louisiana?
I'm thinking, I think somewhere around beginning of March.
Beginning of March, okay.
Yep.
Ours is usually middle March. You're probably a little bit south of us, a little bit ahead of us. Well, the great thing about the tarps is they make everything easy, you know?
Yep.
Once we chop that stuff down and get a little bit, just a light incorporation, we just leave them here until probably about a couple weeks before we're ready to plant. We might till it one more time, and then you know, that's all we have to do. We'll put the tarp back on until right when we're ready to plant. Since we're going to be putting in transplants in here and not direct seeding, we don't need it to be just super incorporated in everything. We don't have to have this really fine, perfect soil for it. We just need it, you know, good enough where we can put our drip tape layer attachment in there. That thing doesn't like a whole lot of chunks.
No, it doesn't, not at all actually.
So we want it well enough for our drip tape attachment or layer attachment is going to work well, but if there is some more debris in there, it's not a big deal. So this is a great time of year. You know, I know some of you live in the South, still have stuff growing in the garden, but if you don't have snow on the ground, this is a great time of year to really work on your weed seed bank as you're getting those plots ready, and the tarp is a great way to do that. Get those weeds stirred up to the surface, kill them off with the tarp. Really focus and concentrate on your weed seed bank, and that's going to go a long way to making sure you have a fun and successful spring garden experience.
And I think some of you that have smaller beds, these are pretty big tarps, but you could always just cut them up into smaller pieces.
Right, So that's 30 by 40. You could cut that into a 15 by 20s if you wanted to, or however you wanted to do it. And like I said, these things, I've had these for 2.5 years, and you know, they're just as good as new. They hold up really well, good UV resistant tarps. So I hope everybody enjoyed that today. I want to thank Wes for helping me out, getting some of this stuff, you know, moving as far as getting ready for spring. Make sure you head on over to the Naked Hog channel, give Wes a subscribe. We'll put a link to his channel in the description below, so you can so it'll be easy to get there.
That's right.
And how often do you post videos?
Post at least once a week.
At least once a week. Wes has got a lot of good gardening videos, seed starting videos, and he's just starting a market farm.
Yep.
And trying to set up little subplots, kind of like we got here. So go check out his channel, and you can join him along his new market farming journey there.
Yep, that'd be awesome.
I'll put a link below to our silage tarps. You can go check those out and grab one of those for your garden. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give me a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring that bell so you get notified every time we come out with a new video. And if you did enjoy this video, check out these other 2 cover crop videos right here. I think you'll really enjoy those as well. We'll see you next time.